Hello YouTubers, and welcome to the meat and potatoes of Sunday's live stream. I didn't think I missed many questions yesterday, but it seems that I was wrong. But first, let me start off by welcoming Tracy, Marie, and BZA, RZA, GZA to our community. Thank you very much for joining in, and let's start off with our first question from Tracy. I need help finding a backup power source for a pellet stove for my 80-year-old mother's house. Well, Tracy, pellet stoves don't use that much electricity. So all you have to do is take a look and see how much electricity that pellet stove does use, because I know that it has a blower and an auger that moves the pellets, and then find what kind of generator would suit you best, whether it would be a gasoline generator or a solar generator. However, for a solar generator, I recommend that you get the best one that you can afford that stores the most energy and has an inverter with at least 1,000 watts of continuous power. Tracy Givler asks, how long does meat last after you can it? Well, Tracy, according to the USDA, if you do the process of pressure canning the meats correctly and you store them correctly, they have an indefinite shelf life. However, after a certain number of years, I would say probably around 5 years or so, that meat will start to lose some of its nutritional value, but it will still have all of the calories and fat, and during times of crises where food is not available, calories are king. Susan in the house asks, how long does flour last? Susan, I can't tell you exactly how long it lasts. However, what I can tell you is this. I have stored flour in just a plain Ziploc bag before, and I let it sit in my pantry for over 5 years, and it was still just fine, just in a Ziploc bag. So I would have to assume that if you store it in a Mylar bag with an oxygen absorber and keep it stored in a cool, dry place away from sunlight, that it will last much longer than that. If I had to estimate, I would say that it would last at least 10 years. Remember though, that if you want to store flour, the best way to do it is to store wheat berries, because wheat berries will last in excess of 30 years if properly stored. Yarn Prepper asks, AP, did you mean to give me a wrench? I surely did, Yarn Prepper, because you're always here during every live stream and you're always helping out in the chats. Let me know if you want me to take that wrench away and I'll be happy to do so. However, I do appreciate your help all the time, and if you want to keep it, you're more than welcome to. Candace Collin asks, AP, what are your garden goals for this year, and are you looking at getting chickens? My garden goals for this year is to be able to grow as many potatoes as I can, because I think that potatoes is one of the easier things to grow, and they grow great in colder climates. So I'm going to try and get at least 120 pounds of potatoes this year, and I'm going to dabble on a few vegetables. Those videos will be coming up. Am I getting chickens this year? We'll have to see. I'm going to work on the infrastructure for my homestead this year, and hopefully I will be able to get chickens if I put up a chicken coop that's insulated in time before next winter starts. Sheila asks, they say I can't keep a Coleman gas cylinder in my apartment. What can I do? Well, Sheila, if you live in an apartment and you have like a Big Buddy or something that takes a Coleman gas cylinder in order to keep you warm, what I would do is I would probably keep some in my vehicle just to make sure that I had them in case of any emergency. Tom Allen asks, can you share with us where you purchased the added batteries that you hooked up to your Duracell power source? Tom, you can purchase those batteries anywhere. I do know that they sell them on Amazon. Check out my Amazon storefront. I'll list a few on there that I think are really good batteries. Pretty much what you're looking for is a deep cycle AGM batteries with at least 100 amp hours of storage capacity. Carmen Del Rio asks, Rudy, question, can I can ghee without using the pressure canner? When I first started canning ghee, I used the pressure canner as an additional source of security, thinking that it would be okay. However, since then, all of the ghee that I've canned, I have not used the pressure canner, and it has stayed shelf stable with no problem. I'm working on a batch of that ghee right now, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for all the questions, and thank you for joining in today. I hope you enjoy the show. Today, what we're going to talk about is there is a very simple way for you to be able to determine what it is that you need in order to prepare, in order to be pretty well prepared. Now, I was watching a video from Full Spectrum Survival, and the video was about, I think, like 25, 30 minutes long or so. And towards the end of the video, and that's one of the reasons why I decided to go ahead and talk about this now, because as you know, a lot of the people that click on a video never watch it all the way through. And I think it was towards the end, middle to end of the video that Full Spectrum Survival put out. He mentioned something that was ingenious. I mean, extremely simple. He gave a great analogy on how people should get prepared. And I wanted to go ahead and expand on that today to give all of you that often ask, what do I do to start preparing? Do I make a list? Do I get this? Do I get that? And of course, I always go through the 5 B's of prepping. But he gave an analogy that I think works better than the 5 B's of prepping as far as how to organize your preps. And what he did is he mentioned that you should look at all of the infrastructure that you use that is provided to you. So for example, supermarkets, right? Supermarkets have an infrastructure. That's where we go get our food. What would you do, or what do you need to do in order to secure yourself in case the supermarkets shut down like they did in Texas, or in case they ran out of food? And of course, we all know what that is. It's what most preppers preach first and foremost. Make sure that you have a year's supply of food. In my case, I like to say have a year's supply of food. And for those of you that are new preppers out there that may be listening to this, it's a lot easier than you think, all right? So don't be put off by some guy telling you, hey, just go get a year's supply of food, right? It's a lot easier to do than what it sounds like. And if you are a new prepper or new to this channel, go ahead and take a look at some of my old videos where I show you how I prep up for a year's supply of food. And where I show you where in a 72 square foot area, you can actually put enough food to last a year for a family of 4. All right? Slow and steady wins the race. All right? So what will you do if the supermarkets went out? Get food, right? Prep up with food ahead of time. The kinds of foods that you eat. Make sure that you also have some way to cook or warm up your food, right? So it's not just getting food. It's not just getting slabs of meat and putting it in your freezer, or getting pasta and putting it away, and rice. How are you going to cook that food? How are you going to prepare that food, right? So that's one infrastructure that we all use. Another one is your water utility. What if your water utility shuts off and you can't get water? What's happening in Texas right now? They can get water, but unfortunately, the water is no good to drink. They're on a boil your water time thing where you have to boil your water for so long until they tell you not to. Boil your own water order, I guess is what they call it, right? So the next utility that we all rely on heavily is water. So have a backup for water. And it's different for everyone because we all have different size families and require different amount of water depending on where you live, right? So cover your water. Cover that infrastructure going down by making sure that you have a good supply of water, and most importantly, in my opinion, that you have a very good water filter. Because right now in Texas, they have water, but they have to boil it. However, what if their utility that allows them to boil the water, that brings gas to their range or brings electricity to their range, is not working? Well, now they can have a little stovetop to be able to boil the water, and then they can filter the water, right? So cover that infrastructure, cover the water. What else? If your electric utility goes out, it's what happened in Texas, right? And we're saying Texas a lot because, of course, it's the most recent disaster that we've had. You know, not the only one, but the most recent one. So we like to learn from history and make sure that we can take advantage of what just happened so that it can be instilled in our minds that we need to do these things for future events. Because, ladies and gentlemen, more are coming, and we'll get into that here in a little bit. All right, so electrical backup. Do you use electricity? Yes. Where do you get your electricity from? From the electric company, right? From the utility company. So if you would have covered that infrastructure, of electricity with your own electrical infrastructure, i.e. a generator, and I do recommend, ladies and gentlemen, you know what? Let me go ahead and clear this up. If I only had $1,000 and I had a choice between getting a gas generator or getting a solar generator, I would get a gas generator first before I got a solar generator, right? I have both because I've gathered those preps throughout the years. But if you only have $1,000 to spend and you have a choice between getting a gas generator and a solar generator, by all means, I would get a gas generator first, which brings me to the next step. or to the next prep or next infrastructure. Gas stations. If there's no electricity or gas stations going to be running, they may be if they have backup generators, but more than likely the transportation of gasoline from refineries to gas stations will probably be impeded. So make sure that you have enough fuel of whatever kind you need backed up. I always say that I like to have at least enough fuel to fill up each of my vehicles once as backup. All right. So if you have at least that, and you're immobile, meaning that you're at home, you're not going to need it for your vehicle. However, you can use it for your generator, or even better, get a dual fuel generator where you can have a few 100-pound tanks of propane put to the side that you can use whenever you need it. And propane, unlike gasoline, pretty much lasts indefinitely. If you use heating fuel for whatever kind of heating you have, make sure you're stocked up on that. So halfway through the winter, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I noticed that I was about 200 or 300 gallons shy. I went ahead and called the fuel company, and they came and they filled me up, which is kind of it worked out well for me, because when I did this was before what happened in Texas happened. And since then, fuel's gone up like 20 cents a gallon. So it would have ended up costing me about an extra $70, $80 to fill up my 300 gallons that I needed than if I would have waited till now or later. So make sure that you're always topped off. Don't wait till the end of the season to try to save a few pennies. If you don't have a choice because you just don't have the money, then that it is what it is. But make sure that your fuel is always topped off, no matter what kind of fuel it is that you use for heating. Propane, heating fuel, wood. If you use wood, make sure you're topped off on wood, however it is that you get it. Urgent care. During this thing that was going on in Texas, I'm sure that most of the hospitals and urgent cares were probably flooded, right? Either flooded with water, number one, probably, or with snow, or, or flooded with people. So make sure that you have your second B of prepping, your Band-Aids. Make sure that you have those basic things that you're going to need. That way, if somebody in your home gets ill, you can at least take care of them until the hospitals or the urgent cares first, open back up. Law enforcement, ladies and gentlemen, I heard reports of, bad things going on in Texas. Why? Because these criminals were waiting for the lights to go out so that they can go and start doing bad things. Well, don't be a victim. I always say that a boomstick is the greatest equalizer there is. And the last thing, ladies and gentlemen, be your own bank. I've always said, make sure that you keep some cash in the house. You know that I'm a big advocate of precious metals. I even like a little bit of cryptos, gold, Bitcoin. I know I'm going to get some thumbs down for that. All right. I even like some Bitcoin, but keep cash in your house. I'm sure that during this time in Texas, there were probably a lot of areas where the ATMs weren't working. Maybe there was a supermarket open on your block or not far away from you, and you wanted to get to your supermarket. Maybe their machines weren't working where they took credit cards and things like that. It's just smart to be your own bank to a certain extent. You don't have to take it to the extent that I do. I try to get outside of the banking system as much as I possibly can, but I always have a little bit of cash in the house just in case. It doesn't have to be $20,000 or 10 or 5, maybe $1,000 or $500, in small bills, 20s, 10s, 5s, and 1s. All right, so be your own bank. So if you take everything that I've said right now, just create your own infrastructure. Make a list of those things, or rewind this video when we're done. Make a list of those things that act as infrastructure to provide you with a service that allow you to live the standard of living that you live today, right? And then go ahead and start filling in all the gaps that you have in those infrastructures should you have to provide for yourself what they can't provide for you during times of crises. All right, thank you very much for joining in, ladies and gentlemen. I had a blast. All right, so I hope that you all have a great rest of your day. Thank you again for being here today. I truly do appreciate your support. And we will, hey, Mayra Rodriguez. Mayra, how you doing? Where you been hiding? Chris Hamill is here. Look at you guys. You've all been hiding until the end. All right, have a great week, ladies and gentlemen. Remember to be good to each other. When people do good things happen. Remember to reach one, teach one, and repeat. If we all did this, the world would be a better place, and you know that it will be a better place. Many blessings to all of you and your families. I'm Alaska Prepper. I am out. Bless you guys. Have a great week.